Welcome to ArtsWestchester Virtual Art Programs. My name is Mary McFerran. I'm an ArtsWestchester teaching artist. I'm here in my studio in Peekskill, New York, and I'm going to show you how to make a collage. A collage is an artwork that is made by combining different pieces of paper, old paintings, other found objects such as newspaper clippings, photos, fabric. You can put anything that will glue down onto your collage. Today we're going to work with old paintings, which is something I like to do. Here is a sample of the collage, the type of thing we're going to make. I made this as a sample, but today I'm going to show you how to get started. First of all, you need a background or a foundation. I'm going to use foam core. I have some small pieces, so that will allow me to make several collages. You could also use cardboard. You can even use ripped up old boxes, but you want to have it rather flat to get started. The other materials that you'll need are glue, just some white glue, scissors. You might want some fabric if you have some scraps around the house, or you can cut up an old t-shirt, and crayons. Crayons are basically oily crayons. You could also just use plain crayons if that's all you have. So we're also going to work with old paintings. I happen to have some old paintings that I wasn't too happy with, so I've decided to chop them up and use them again in a collage. So here's one of my old paintings. You may have old ones from last year when you were in an art class and you weren't totally happy with one of them. That's a great example of a way to use it. So I can either cut these up. When I'm cutting, I may decide to be very decisive about what I cut. For instance, maybe in this case, I want to cut out the figure that I see, or maybe I don't care and I just want to chop things randomly. You can also tear. You can not worry too much about the size, just have them big enough to work with. You can always cut them back to be smaller if you want. So that's how we get started with paintings. I have quite a variety now to choose from. Let's go to the work table and get started. One of the nice things about collage is that you get to make decisions again. So things that you didn't think you did so well, maybe the first time you were painting, you get to re-decide and you get to organize your composition again. So I have selected some big and some small pieces from my bin to work with, and I'm going to get started. I sometimes like to use these sticks to get my glue. It gives me more control of how I apply them. It will be important to make a good gluing connection between your paper and your board. So use plenty of glue, but try to be neat. Use your glue in a way that really works. I use it on the edges, along the edges, and along the middle area. So I have several places that I can make those connections with. And then when I put it down onto the surface, I don't worry so much about it going off the edges, because that's a design issue that I may want. I may want to have things that go outside of the perimeter. I also make a first glue push down, but then I use an extra piece of clean paper so that I can be sure my hands are clean, and really smear the glue piece onto the foundation. So I'm going to keep doing this, gluing little pieces, making decisions about where they go, and smearing them down. In the beginning, you don't make such big decisions, but as you move along, you'll find that you have to be more decisive and the decisions are going to count a little more. My paintings are watercolor paintings, so they were done on pretty heavy paper which means I have to put a little effort into really getting them to glue down. In this case, I'm actually using a few different paintings, but I am being careful that there's some connection to the color balancing going on. I can also slip in underneath an area that hasn't quite been glued down yet to add some pieces. I've decided I'm going to add a different color, maybe just some black and white, to add a little mystery. These colors are very light colored and almost remind me of spring. But this piece is a little more gray, which you might wonder, why am I adding that? But I want to add a little contrast. I'm also going to be very careful in this case to cut a special shape to put into the collage. As you go along, you're basically adding new layers. This glue takes about 35 minutes to really adhere completely. So it's not a bad idea. If you are going to make a few, you could be working on a few at a time and letting the layers really glue in there. Now, as I said, I like to add fabric to my artwork. And I have this old red fabric, which again is quite a striking difference to the other colors I'm using today. But I've decided I want to do that. I can always take it off if I don't like it. And I can even cut it down once it's on the paper, on the foundation. That's quite a striking contrast, isn't it? I think I better add some other pieces of that color so that the composition starts to come together. Now, as you're adding these different paint swatches and fabric swatches, you're going to start becoming aware of the movement that you're creating. There'll be existing lines like these blue oval lines, and then these horizontal lines that I've just added. I have some circles going on from my earlier gluing. As you start to really go deeper into this collage, you can be more aware of those shapes and either try to find other shapes that complement them or blend with them. As the artist, you get to make all those decisions. But then the big job is to somehow make them all come together. I'm adding another piece of fabric now, a little bit smaller piece and a different color. If you wanted, you could make the whole collage out of fabric or the whole collage out of paper. But one of the fun things about collage is to combine different things that normally wouldn't be found together. If you find that you have a lot of extra glue, perhaps you put a little too much on, you can cut a piece of paper and use it as almost a blade to take away that excess before it dries. As I start to build up even more, I'm covering up some of the fabric, which is fine. I start to make it more and more dense. As you're thinking about what to make your collage as a theme, you can think of the seasons. For instance, I said it's almost spring. We're going to work with some spring colors. Or maybe it's a holiday, Valentine's Day or Christmas or Hanukkah or Easter, Passover, Kwanzaa, and you may want to make a collage that reflects some of that. You also can think of a collage as a story. It can be a story with words or even a story without words. Maybe a story of shapes or color. Or line. So I'm going to just keep building this. I think I still need to do more to integrate that red. It's quite a high contrast, maybe a little too much contrast to the other colors I have. Don't forget to use some smaller pieces of fabric or paper as well. Try to have a variety of sizes, as that will make your composition a little more interesting. So as I said, some of my papers are quite heavy, and I'm having a little trouble getting them to really stick down properly. So what I'm going to do is put them under a weight, a book, to keep them really smashed down. I'm going to put a piece of clean white paper on top. In case any glue spills out, I don't want it to get on the book. So I put that down first, and then I put the book down. I can do another smearing, and I can let this sit for a little while. One of the things I like to do is put my work up on a wall. I either tape it up, or I can use push pins if the wall has that kind of surface. And that way I can sort of get away from it and look at it a little and decide what it needs. So I'm thinking that it might need some crayons, which is the other material I introduced in the beginning of the lesson. So let's see what happens if I add a little crayons. So I have some red crayons. I might want to add a little of that. I might want to add a little yellow or some more green or blue. I'm going to go kind of slowly and just check what I'm doing. So I'll start with the red, and I'm going to just make some little dots. I like to add things slowly at this point because the collage is almost finished, but it just needs a little finishing touches. So I go all over and just make some red dots. I might even reinforce some of the painting that I already had. Next, I'm going to use a little green. again, very slowly. I don't want to ruin what I have or change the composition too drastically. Might just go over some of the green paint. Maybe add some lines. Another thing that the Pré-Pause does is it lets you make this connection again with the different layers. So you can go over the fabric and over the paintings. So they start to kind of talk to each other. I might even want to fill in one of these white areas on the background of the foundation cardboard. So I'm almost there. Maybe I'll just add a little yellow. For some reason I'm really into yellow these days. Let's see if that adds a little something. So there it is. And I think I'm pretty happy with it. I can keep coming back to it. Thank you. Today you've helped me make 2 new collages. I hope you've enjoyed the lesson today. I had fun, and I hope you'll explore. Be creative with your collages. And if you enjoyed this lesson, please visit ArtsWestchester.org. ArtsWestchster.org. Thank you. Hope to see you again.